Hey Richard.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm okay, man. Just a little bit delayed with my plans here, and I'm caught on the road, but it is what it is. How are you?
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, pretty good. I was in New York last week. I did it was like a 3 day work trip, and then I spent maybe 4 days like doing a family vacation there. Like my parents
Yeah.
came out for it and stuff. I saw my parents and sister. We all just like sort of like gathered in New York City, and that was fun. There's a lot of
Yeah.
cool stuff going on.
New York City's pretty busy.
Yeah, the main thing that I did, like one night, there's this, there's like an interactive play called like Sleep No More, and it takes place in like a four-story building that's kind of like done up like a hotel kind of, and the actors like put on little scenes and like wander around, and then as an audience, all the audience members wear like a mask, and you just kind of walk around and observe the actors, and you can kind of choose to follow like sometimes a scene will end and actors will like leave the room and do something else elsewhere in the like environment or whatever, and you can like follow them if you want, or sometimes you like lose track of them. Yeah, and uh, that was like a very unique thing. And I heard about it about a year ago, and I'm glad I got to go check it out because it really was like it was very different than other things I've seen.
Neat.
Mhm.
You're back in San Francisco now.
Yeah, got back last Tuesday. Uh, I have some relatives in the area, like looking after my cat. We haven't picked up the cat yet. We're gonna pick up the cat like tomorrow or Saturday. Uh, since getting the cat. I got the cat when it was a couple months old, and we've had this cat Nevi for like 2 years now, and we've only ever like been away from the cat for like 2 days at a time. You know, we'd like leave it alone for like a one night, and now this has been like maybe like 10 days in a row where oh I'm cutting out.
Yeah, you're cutting out.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyways, yeah, we've left this cat with them for like 10 days in a row. So that's maybe the longest. It's still like with people, I guess, every day, but for us, it's been the longest that we haven't seen the cat.
Well, there you go. I wonder if it has separation anxiety now because you abandoned it for so long.
Yeah, I wonder about cats. I don't know how well cats can like tell. Like it was interesting because we spent like 1 or 2 nights with my relatives. Like we brought the cat over to their place. We spent a night there, and I noticed like the cat was like hanging around us. Like it definitely knew that like we're the ones that usually feed it and like spend time with it. But then since like leaving, there's been a lot of photos where the cat is like spending time with my relatives, like sleeping on their lap and stuff. So I feel like
Yeah.
cats just very quickly like make a new home for themselves, and like as long as someone's feeding them, they just like they follow that person around.
Well, yeah, cats form bonds, man. Like, you ever watch that Netflix documentary Inside the Mind of the Cat? It's legit. You think about like food is, one of the greatest things that we can give an animal, right? It's how we domesticated dogs. No, sorry, wolves. The
Mm.
sharing of food, and we shared food with sort of the friendlier wolves that were out there. I mean, as friendly as a wolf can get, I suppose. And then we artificially bred the friendly versions until they turned into fucking Shih Tzus and pugs. And you know that like kindness or friendliness is actually like it's a bred trait. Did you know that?
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah, it makes
And
sense. Like all the social traits being like helpful for survival.
yeah, and it's like their ears droop and their tails curl, or
Yeah.
instead of being pointed upwards, they kind of like droop down and they get spots. All those are traits of friendliness. And
Mm.
they just happen because of friendliness. And there was a study done on foxes, silver something foxes in Russia. and they are fucking feral, and they artificially bred them based off friendliness, and they developed droopy ears, curly tail, and spots as well. So it's fascinating shit, and it's not the strongest that survives or procreates, the friendliest now. It's ultimately it's altruism that is how we, survive as a species. And what is going on? Dude. Okay, so I'm in Ontario. I'm going on the 401 or the Gardner Expressway, and there are fucking speed bumps on the highway, dude. Yeah, I'm hitting speed bumps at 100k an hour.
I guess they
Wow.
could design something.
It doesn't make
I
any
assume
sense, though.
I would assume it's just like a bad road, but do you think it's actually intentional?
Well, I think it's liability is what it is. Because I did smash into one when heading west, and it kind of took my exhaust off my engine block and then blew my radiator because of too much pressure and heat. And that cost me about $1,500 to fix. So, and
You have
plus
to
the
get like
inconvenience.
towed. Yeah.
Yeah,
Did
I
you
got
drive? Did you
towed.
drive? Yeah, towed.
CAA. So I had the inconvenience of being towed. The time, yeah, is because of the fucking speed bumps. I just had my exhaust replaced last year. There's no reason for it to disconnect like that.
Yeah, I guess there's
Anyway,
like that's like a trap where like we have to pay a lot of money to maintain the roads, and if we don't, then like individual cars just get like blown up, and then people, so you either like pay in tax money or pay individually when your car gets like destroyed. There's
well,
no
here's the kicker. We pay taxes for the roads, and it still fucks up our cars.
yeah.
All right, those are deliberate speed bumps, bro. Like those are actually built. Like
So
I'm
it's like a
looking at them.
speed bump. Do you think they designed it so that like if you're going over the like 100 kilometers an hour, like is it like a fast speed bump sort of thing? Like
I guess
how does
so,
it?
but I'm going 90 and I'm hitting these things, and it's shaking the car. It's shaking the Forerunner. Yeah. So I'm gonna have
Whoa.
to bitch to the city. I'm not one for doing that, but they've already cost me money, and they're gonna cost me money again. So fuck them. If they, it's that, and they fucking give me parking tickets for like sitting for a minute without more like 5 minutes without a paid slip. Those guys are they're like crows, man. They're vultures. As soon as your thing expires, they're there. Boom. They're on your carcass. Yeah, car. Carcass, car. Anyway.
I'm looking up like large highway speed bumps.
I'm not making this shit up, man. It's only this summer I've ever hit these things. I've never noticed them before. I wonder if like the politicians are sitting around a table like, and kind of fingering their chins and like, oh, I wonder how else we can make people pay more money into the economy. Let's deliberately break their fucking cars by putting bumps on the highway.
Imagine like yeah, I'm not sure how to design like a speed bump, because it would be like trucks, cars, bikes. There's all these different vehicles going pretty fast. So how do you make like a speed bump that like is fine at like 90, 100, and then like, but like no one would see the speed bump coming though. Anyways, if you're speeding, you have no time to like react before you just hit it.
Yeah. Well, it's not like a pothole where the faster you go, the less impact you feel. Because if you just fly over a fucking pothole, there's no impact. If you go slow over one, you get fucked. So unfortunately, it's not like that. You hit a speed bump going 120. Your rear chassis, whatever it's called, undercarriage is going to be left behind. and you're gonna go flying forward in the upper part of the vehicle. Oh yeah.
what do
So
you
anyway, it was a weird
where did you
sidebar
go?
from. Well, trying to be friendly, man. Trying to be friendly. Trying to be happy.
Right.
I've been spending time in Toronto. And sort of like I'm leaving the military, consolidating, and I got some reminders from my service that I have to live with, and accepting those limitations and still trying to carve a life out of where I'm at. And part of my plan is to consolidate liabilities, and I'm at the mercy of the market. I really don't like that.
Right.
So yeah, like I guess the secret is you live where your primary home is in the ideal place where you never want to sell, and then anything else is sort of just like optional. And then if you want to get rid of it, you can if the market's good, and if you don't want to,
Right.
it's profitable and makes sense to keep it and continue to get that cash flow. Like
Right.
I don't know, or you just consolidate, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to sell my liabilities, the condos, because condos are fucking liabilities, and I wish I had someone in my life tell me never own a condo because I would have listened. I would be in a much better financial place now. Also, never hire a Proline. I
What do
don't
they
know
do?
if they operate outside their property management company, but never hire them. Their senior people are fucking shady, and they will scam you, take your money in
Yeah, I
ways that
wonder
you.
about those. Like, so how do like when they pitch the idea of like they rent your property and then give you like they take a percentage, they give you the rest. How do they do that in a way that's like kind of scammy? Like, do they just charge you a bunch of maintenance fees or something, or like
Well, first off,
they implement it?
um, they're in bed with everybody, so all the contractors, they can be friends with them.
Oh yeah,
And the rates that the contractors charge these property management companies is just insane. And I think it's because they say it's for the convenience and immediate response times, but they're just fucking you as the homeowner. That's what it is. They just call it whatever they want. And I'm pretty sure it's their friends, or it's all, what's the word I'm looking for?
or
Uh,
even they could possibly like the same parent company in some cases could own both. That's like a private equity thing. You buy up the whole like chain.
I guess so. But like in BC, there's not a lot of contractors as it is. So I mean, yeah, they secure guaranteed work and they pay a premium for it, I suppose. I don't trust it though. And like contractor plumbing comes in, fixes the toilet, it's $300. I'm like, you charge me $300 to fix the fucking toilet? Like, what'd you do? Put a wrench to it? Like,
Mhm.
the one guy charged me $100 for unclogging my tub because
Right.
my tenant had lots of hair and didn't want to pull the hair out of the tub, and they charged me $100. And so, like the percentage, to answer your question, the percentages that they charge are fucking high for the work that they do. They barely do any work. I mean, I have a private, like kind of like a mom and pa place. There's like three people who came together to form this property management company. And I literally have to pull teeth to get my operating statements from them. I have to follow up 4 to 5 times. Like Proline at least automatically sent the shit, even though they
Oh yeah.
gouge me. But this other place, their percentage are too lower, but it's like, I don't know. It's terrible as well. You know what the solution is? The solution is you go large scale in the States, because there's no large scale rental companies in Canada, because I don't know if BlackRock is here. Highly doubt it. Maybe, but I don't think they're buying up huge, massive amounts of real estate in Canada because the rules just don't make sense here. the rent control is bullshit, right? So I don't see any big investors buying up all the real estate here. So you don't see big, massive property managers like you would see in the States. And I work with a company, and they help me buy properties and get the property management companies on board. And because I'm building a portfolio, these property managers will charge me 5% of my gross income instead of 11 or 12. And all their maintenance, they have maintenance crews that go in and do the work immediately because they have the overhead to afford their own maintenance crews, which is incredible.
Yeah, I guess the issue is like you want the efficiencies of big companies, but you want like enough big companies that there's still like competing with someone so that they have like an incentive. Because I think the danger is like one company takes over the whole market, and then everybody like renters and sellers or whatever, like, you know, people that have properties that want them managed, like everyone is at the mercy of like one company, and that company just tries to like make all the money for like shareholders. And
That's what's happening.
yeah, that
That's
does,
our
yeah, in every
world.
industry. Yeah, like that's the thing is, but I guess like what you were saying about Canada having rent control and kind of chasing away like the investors a little bit, that does kind of protect like the housing industry from being like taken over if it's like not profitable to do so. But in the States, yeah, that's definitely a problem where there is like, you know, any city I go to, and I look up a building, it goes to like the same company's website. Like Related Rentals is like one of the big ones that has like several of the luxury apartments like in every downtown core. And then they all, of course, all the rents are like the same across all their properties.
Yeah, they can do that. It's amazing. Good for them. But they're able to do it because, the rules permit and it makes sense. It doesn't make sense to have a big portfolio in Canada anymore. I don't think it ever did, frankly, because of the rent control. Plus, the tenants have all the rights here. And this whole cash for keys thing, it's real. It happens. And I'm at risk for it. So, like, the only reason I can kick out my tenants is if I move in and live there for a year. So I'm relocating to British Columbia to kick out my tenants because they're living 700 to $1,000 under market value, and they have been for the last 2 years. So they're getting the fucking boot, and then I'm gonna live there, and then I'm gonna sell it because don't own a condo, folks, because it's a liability. All that money, that $450 in maintenance fees, could have been going to a mortgage on a house. And then I don't have to like deal with a board and bylaws that make no sense and them making purchases on furniture that's not required. Ugh. And I'd be able to Airbnb my place without someone stepping on my dick all the time.
Yeah, it is. That's another example of like a monopoly is like all of the units in one building. Like if you own a unit in that building, you have no choice but to deal with like the one board and they can do whatever, you know, and it's like it's not like you can just move your unit to another building, you know, like you have to just like leave the building. They have like a fiefdom or whatever, like they're like the king of the complex, which is just like another, it's just like anytime there's ever like one human or like a collection of humans like in charge of something that there's no like competition, then it just immediately ends up like they do whatever they want and no one likes it, but no one can do anything.
Mm.
But I guess that's similar to like HOA down in the States. Like even if you own a house in the States, you're part of like an HOA, like a homeowners association, and they tell you like when you have to cut your grass, how many cars you're allowed to have in your driveway, like uh how like all these, they have so many like what color your door can be, like uh they have all these things they, or like how if you want to renovate like your house, they tell you like they inspect it as you're renovating and they tell you if it's like a valid renovation or not.
Whoa, is that like in red states too, or is that just blue states?
As far as I know, every single house in America is part of like an HOA, and the HOA is like the neighborhood is like a board for the neighborhood that can kind of vote. Sometimes you pay HOA fees, but it's kind of just up to like the HOA what they want to do, and they can really do anything, I guess.
Yeah, that's the whole reason why I don't want to be in a condo in Canada. So I guess the trick is you own your own house in Canada, so you don't have anybody in your dick. Because you own a house in the States, it looks like you got someone on your dick still. Well,
It
damn.
seems like that. Yeah. Yeah, people are really like neighborhoods are like little tiny corporations in America.
Seriously. Well, that's insightful. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I wonder. I hear a lot of people complain about HOAs. Like, yeah, I guess I'm still in an apartment, but like we paid like a fee, like a high fee just to like move in, like to get the elevator to move in. We had to like request like a time and pay like a fee to the HOA or whatever.
Hmm. Yeah, that's pretty
But
standard.
that was not, yeah. But I think there's a lot of like comically insane stories of HOAs on the internet, which doesn't like say anything about all of them overall, but it does seem like another thing to look into because it's just like other more people that have absolute power over you if you have a house in a certain area.
Hmm. Ah, well, speaking of real estate and investing there, never, ever, ever invest in a partial deal.
That's like when you pay part of a house and someone
Yeah,
else
no,
pays the rest.
don't do it unless you're running the show and you're getting investors. You have to be the one in the driver's seat because people are fucking fraudulent. Even if they have a good rap and they have a great and long digital footprint and they're married with kids and they seem good, if they get a chance to fuck you, they will try. So be the one in the driver's seat running the show because I almost had somebody pull that on me and they almost cost me $50,000. So, lots of
Yeah,
stress
was
and
that a were you talking about that deal before?
yeah.
Uh
So I ended up talking to a lawyer and, you know, big red flag that somebody tried to, not going to name names, but somebody tried to de-link me, as I would put it, from the property
oh yeah.
because they changed the name of the LLC or they changed the LLC when upon closing. And then it was different than what we agreed to. And then they sent an update after I prompted and asked, like, what the fuck? And I looked at the deed and they're like, oh, well, they actually sent me a copy, a false deed, which had this incorrect LLC. And then they tried to send me an update to our agreement, linking me to the fake LLC. And I didn't sign that. I was like, yeah, no, I didn't. So I pulled the official deed from the city database, looked at it. I'm like, well, this is clearly different. Like the last character's not a one.
Wow. It's
Well,
even
it's supposed
comes
to be
down to that. They're
the
literally
la-
like
the
playing on that
last
level. It's crazy.
the last little character. Yeah, it's just a little tiny thing at the top of the character because that's just the font that was used for the official deed. And when you look at what he sent me, it's clearly a capital. Well, it's not a capital I. It's
Yeah.
just a straight line, right? It's not like your capital I with the pillars. It doesn't look like a pillar with like a foundation at the top. So I was like, what the fuck? You sent me this false deed that this character's clearly changed. And if you copy and paste from the official deed, it comes out as a 1, even though it's not fully clear in the deed what it is. But when you copy and paste it, the LLC in like Times New Roman or any other font, it's a 1 clearly. So they try to delink me and then take my money and run pretty much. So yeah. Or they would have paid me the cash flow that was in the deal to kind of keep me like unsuspecting. And then they promised me the $50,000 back after 3 years, so you get a full return on your investment because by then they can refinance because there's enough equity in the home and you still own 50%. But what I think they were going to do is I think they were going to sell and then fucking disappear
Yeah.
after 3 years. Just sell.
Yeah.
Boom! Collect all that growth, take all that money, and just poof. And then I got nothing to go after them because then they liquidate the LLC, which is the silo that protects them, and that's it. I can sue the LLC, but they pulled all the money out.
Right.
So if the agreement is if they sell, they have to pay you as a member investor. But if you're not linked as a member to the LLC, then they don't have to pay you. And you can't go after them.
Right. Yeah.
So very, very important lesson. And how not to get fucked 101. Do your due diligence. Everybody kept saying that to me over and over again. But yeah, be careful who you do
Yeah. It's kind
business
of
with.
it's like a crazy amount of due diligence. Like it literally comes down to like characters rendering the same in different fonts.
Yep.
Like one would hope that there'd be some kind of like electronic verification with these things. Like especially when large amounts of money are going around, like everything should be like a clearly distinct like number. And then if like the whole number should change if like anything changes rather than just coming down to like fonts that are hard to read.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's totally, yeah, people will, yeah, everything's so loose. Like it's just like a bunch of paper being generated and stuff. And then if it's like someone's full-time job to like shuffle paper and like edit names, then they have like an advantage over us where we just want like an investment opportunity and not to have to do extra work. Like the whole point is to like avoid insane amounts of work and like vetting every single thing.
And that's, I guess, is why we bring in lawyers to do it for us.
Yeah.
But even
Yeah.
they
And then
can
it's just
screw
like
up too.
everybody's has lawyers. That's what I would like to eventually have. Like if I ever have like a business, I want like a lawyer and an accountant at all times, just like on call. And I wonder what is the minimum price I would have to pay for that stuff like per month just to have them around. And I
I mean,
wonder if it's affordable.
it might be more as a as required basis, but you compensate them very generously because if they do their jobs correctly, they can save you a lot of money. So be very generous with your team because basically they're part of your team, and without them, you're kind of just floundering on your own, and you will make mistakes, and it will be costly.
Yeah.
So yeah, compensate your people, and so whatever they're asking, if it's reasonable, give it to them, and then give them a little something else. They do a good job. Yeah.
Oh, I'm reading a book right now. A book I'm reading is called Asian Godfathers, and it's about like basically the 8 like super rich families that became super wealthy in like Southeast Asia region where there's like a collection of different countries. Like Singapore is one of them, and the Philippines are like a bunch of islands, I guess. And the story is basically that like the government in that area sort of like gave ownership of different like monopolies to different families, and then those families like accumulated like massive personal wealth, like maybe $4 billion was like the amount. There's like 8 different guys that each of them had like $4 billion in like a region where the average monthly salary for a person was like 500 USD. So that
Whoa.
was like the wealth. Yeah, that was like the wealth discrepancy. And the book is about how like even in 1996 when there was like a financial crisis in the region, all those rich people like stayed rich like through the financial crisis, even though like I think the book kind of makes the argument that like they became rich, they had monopolies, they didn't innovate, that led to like a financial crisis, and then the financial crisis like didn't affect them at all. They just became like remained rich and remained in power. Uh, and to this day, I guess there's like a group of families that kind of run the whole area, and not, there's not really much competition or something even allowed necessarily like in some industries.
Hmm. Do you know which industries?
He lists actually like all the industries. Like he says uh yeah, it says like Hong Kong and Southeast Asia are home to 500 million people, yet the economies are dominated by only 50 families whose interests range from banking to real estate, shipping to sugar, gambling to lumber. So he kind of lists like all, yeah, like container shipping, like foods, like gambling, lumber, banking, real estate. I guess these are all industries that originally, apparently like originally there was like these 8 men that sort of took over those industries, or like were given the industry by politicians, and then they just like ran like a monopoly in that industry, accumulated personal wealth, gave kickbacks to like the politicians, and then like solidified themselves, and then it's just been like passed down through the family.
The dynasties.
But I think that's like crazy. Their movie, like Crazy Rich Asians, was like based in Singapore. So I think this story is kind of like uh, a little bit like surrounding the plot of like Crazy Rich Asians. Like basically, like why are there like super wealthy Asian families in this region? And then yeah, it's, I guess it's because of like political games, and like all the corporations are like state run. That was an interesting point that the book made. It's that like like these people are like 20 of the top like 50 richest people in the world, yet the companies they run are all like state run, like run by the government companies. Like there isn't even like big private companies. So it's not, like in my mind, it's like it's not the case that like an individual started a company, a private company, and then became wealthy. It was just like an individual was given like a company by the government and then became like super wealthy. But it's like if you're running like a monopoly company given to you by the government, why are you getting like massively wealthy off that? It's like it's clearly just like legal corruption, because everyone that's in like government and politics are like fine with it because they all get
Hmm.
like their share, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like kings giving land to nobles in exchange for taxes and loyalty and armies. It's exactly the same fucking thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's all
just
it is.
dividing up stuff. Yeah.
It's just the politicians or government is, it has replaced the kings and queens of old. So it's always the same. It's the fucking few taking from the many.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what's happening in like America and like North America right now is that apparently for the last like 20, 40 years, there's been like like the government has been like sort of agreed to like ignore antitrust law. And that allowed, like for the last 20 years, it's allowed like every company to just like merge with all of its competitors, so that nearly every industry in like America is run by like three massive companies, and those companies can easily like sort of watch each other and like make sure prices like stay high and wages like stay low. And that we sort of had like 40 years ago, we had laws that were supposed to like prevent any company from breaking through like a certain percentage of the market. And that like if they tried to merge to exceed that percentage, they would be denied. Like the mergers would be like illegal. But then someone had this theory that like it would be more efficient if we let companies like become these massive like single companies that run entire like sectors of the economy. Then that would be like more efficient because they wouldn't have to like spend extra money like competing or something or divide like supply chains. But every example we've seen of like a company becoming large, they always just like raise, like as soon as they have the power to raise prices without fear of losing customers to a competitor, they just raise them as high as they can. And then whenever a rival appears, they buy the rival, or they work with the government to like do these complicated regulations so that no small company can like enter the space without like a team of lawyers. But I think we're starting to see like some pushback. Like I feel like to a certain extent, like the Biden administration was starting to push back against these, like create some like court battles for the big companies, and like the European Union has definitely been like trying to attack like big companies. And there was like when Microsoft tried to merge with like the largest like game company, there was like a huge court battle, which Microsoft eventually won and then did merge. But yeah, it's definitely the case. Yeah, the big companies today are really being like heavily investigated, not as fast as like they should be, because they've been like getting away with like some sketchy stuff for like the last decade. But hopefully we would get like some like break up the big companies, like get a more of a competitive like fair economy. But yeah, but these companies are like so big. Like there's already like one story is like IBM got really big in the 90s, and IBM went through this whole legal battle where like the government said like you have to break, like we're going to break up IBM to make it more like less of a monopoly. And for literally 12 years, IBM fought the court battle and like appealed it and delayed it for like 12 years. And the figures are that like IBM spent more money per year on lawyers than the entire government spent on lawyers for all cases in the entire country. And IBM just had so much money, they just could afford like that many lawyers. And then after 12 years, like I think it was the president like Reagan was elected, and then he said, we're not going to investigate like IBM anymore. And so then that's why IBM like didn't have to break up, because they just like they did like a 12-year long court battle until a different president came in and just forgave them.
Jesus.
But it's kind of crazy that like that stuff happened in the past. And then today, you know, we have these companies that are like massively large, like trillion-dollar companies that charge like Apple charges 30% on everything, like Microsoft charges 30% on like everything you buy, like sell on their platform.
30%.
Yeah, 30% is like if you make a video game, you sell it on Steam, you have to pay Steam like 20 or 30% of all your profits. And if you sell an app on the App Store, you have to pay 30% of all your sales. Even like if you buy an audiobook on a store, on like any sort of purchase you make through an app, 30% of the like the money goes to Apple. And then like Amazon, like people are saying Amazon as well, like Amazon charges like something like 20 or 30%, or like somehow they get away with like 40% sometimes. They take of the money when you make a sale for a product on like Amazon. So then all these like scam products like make it to the top of Amazon. And then like the best matching results get pushed down. And but then Amazon also says if you list your product on Amazon, the lowest price that you sell your product for anywhere has to be on Amazon as well. So basically if you want to sell a product, and you put it on Amazon, you have to like raise the price of your product so that you can afford to like pay Amazon like their cut. But that means you have to raise the price everywhere so that you can also state that like the lowest price is on Amazon. Uh, so people are saying
If
that
you
like the effect,
if you
yeah,
use that platform.
yeah, if you're on
Okay.
Amazon, yeah, yeah. But then there's companies that tried to like there was this website called diapers.com where like it was just selling diapers. And then Amazon tried to buy them and they said no. So Amazon spent like $100 million like selling diapers at a loss until diapers.com had no customers and went out of business. And then when everybody was like buying their diapers from Amazon, there was like no alternative. Amazon like raised the price again. So that was like another example of like companies have so much money they can just like sell products at a loss until there's no competitors, and then they're the only one in the market and they can like raise prices to whatever they want because there's no competitors. There's actually a law against that. Like you're not allowed to sell a product for cheaper than it costs you to make it if you're doing it for like the intention of bankrupting like a competitor basically. Because yeah, that's also like basically for like Uber and Lyft. Uber and Lyft for like the last decade have like never made a profit. It's just been like investors giving them money and then them subsidizing like the cost of like a ride so that it's cheaper than taxis so that they can get like a foothold in the market. But yeah, like the price we pay for like a Lyft is like reduced to be like competitive, even though it's like still high. But even then, uh, the company reports like a loss. I think only recently did they make like a couple $1 million profit uh, after I guess they've like taken over the market basically.
Yeah, they basically have to expand and take over everything before they can make the profit. But I was
Sort of
listening to
crazy.
Too
Yeah.
Long TLDL and they were talking about there's different phases. And before, years ago, the phase was just growth. And investors would just throw money at companies with the eventual expectation that they would turn a profit. And so they just kept throwing money at companies and companies kept growing and kept expanding. And as long as they were growing, they were expanding, that was good. Investors were happy. But now investors want to see results. They want to see what that money is doing and if it's growing or not. Not just like expansion, but like if there's revenue
Right.
or like what are the profits. Now they're paying attention to the profits. So things are different now. It's not just mass expansion. That phase is done. Now it's all about refinement and maximizing. And I'm starting to see it, man, like with companies, like if you look at just food, for instance, and how canola oil is added to everything and nearly everything, and sugar is increasing, is making it to the top of the ingredient list. And it's not just like simple sugar, shit sugar, it from, cane, whatever, cane sugar. It's dextrose from corn. Fucking terrible. And that's now making its way into a lot of food products. Like I spent like 15, 20 minutes trying to buy chicken broth,
Oh yeah.
going through stores to find a chicken broth that didn't have a whole shit ton of nasty ass additives to it. And so, like, whatever happened to fucking boiling bones and add water and salt, Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Why are all these ingredients, these shit ingredients added in? Are chicken bones really that scarce these days? I mean, they're just like there's shrinkflation, and then there's like whatever this is, where but like with filler, they're just adding filler, dangerous filler too. That's really bad for our health.
Yeah. Yeah, like increasing shelf life, increasing like addictivity, reducing maybe they like the bad ingredients are cheaper than the good and they just like fill out the recipe with cheaper stuff so they don't have to spend as much on it.
Natural flavor, man. It's proprietary for who knows what. It contains some natural ingredients. They can use that label, but it can still contain unnatural ingredients and still be allowed to use that term. I see natural flavor in almost everything. It's even in tea bags, dude. I was like, why is there natural flavor in tea bags? How how complicated is tea? Like mint tea
Yeah.
is mint leaves. Why is there natural mint flavor added to the fucking tea bag? Like I don't I'm at a loss, dude. You have to literally scrutinize every label. And also
Mm.
sunflower seeds, sunflower oil, it's making its way into everything. And here's the kicker. I have an extreme intolerance to it. So
Right.
it makes my face red, it gives me rosacea, it hurts my guts. And I was consuming it every day in copious amounts because it was in everything. You go to Starbucks, it's in the almond milk, it's in the oat milk, it's in I don't know if it's in the coconut milk. I just get the coconut milk. But like I checked their oat and almond milk, and yeah, they got sunflower oil in both.
Huh.
You buy the Justin's dark chocolate peanut butter cups, there's sunflower oil in that. Why is there sunflower oil in fucking dark chocolate?
It would be interesting to know, like, someone along the way, like whether it improves texture or shelf life or like taste or something or sweetness. Like someone must know why what metric were they measuring that like improved when they added that. And I wonder, like, is someone like, is there like a documentary or some kind of like YouTube video that someone explains like why is this happening?
I am curious.
Yeah.
I'm sure there will be a documentary soon if there isn't. But it's just like with the word fragrance and how it's added to most smelly things and how that's proprietary for hundreds of thousands of chemicals. And some of them can be carcinogens too. Like at my family house, they use like scented shit, and I get like sick when I'm there. I get anxiety because of the scented stuff.
Mm.
It overrides my nervous system, dude. There's
Like those
chemicals in
little
there,
the scent, oh, just like air fresheners and stuff.
air fresheners, the wall things, the whatever, the cleaners.
Yes.
It's actually impacting my nervous system, dude. I
Yeah.
wasn't having any anxiety beforehand. I had no reason to have anxiety. And I'm getting anxiety being in the house. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So that's a new connection that I just made. I it's totally because of the scented shit. So in my own home, I have nothing scented that's bad. It's all natural stuff.
Do you
Anyway,
think you
I
could people have like a learned anxiety where like they get anxiety and it just so happens the scent is around them and then like then when you smell that scent in the future it like brings up the
yes,
anxiety. Yeah.
totally. Yeah. Yeah, I have one that's Pine Sol or something that does it for me. Reminds me of a group home. Um, the other thing I was gonna say is my house in Ottawa, even though it's like minimalist and barely has anything bad in it, I get anxiety when I'm in there too. And I suspect my furniture's off-gassing still after 10 years. So,
It's hard to tell if that's learned or not because many times I've come back to like an apartment that I live in and I'll feel like a nervousness or uneasiness where I something like I like being out in the city and like walking around, but when I come back, I feel very sedentary and I'll get like a slight depression, like just from feeling like, oh, I'm back here again. Like, what am I accomplishing? Like, uh,
mm,
and
you
there may
know,
be like do you think there's like a home, like almost not like,
homesickness.
yeah. Well, homesickness is like being away, but this is like
Mm, house sickness,
feeling
sorry.
like, yeah, almost like a not like stir like if you're inside for too long, you go like stir crazy or something. But this is sort of like a like associating home with like a little bit of boredom. Like nothing exciting is going to happen here because it's like if there's no good shows to watch, if there's no entertainment, then you're just like, oh, I guess like you just sort of think at some point I'll go to bed and then wake up and do it all over. And that's all related to like, sort of like the day's activities end when you come home or something.
Well, yeah, partly because it's an unnatural environment that we created. artificial completely and fully. We belong in the trees in nature. If you just feel that way and you go into the forest that's not surrounded by like traffic and noise, and you got quiet peace, air blowing and fucking you smell, the decaying leaves now that it's
Yeah.
autumn in Canada anyway, you feel better. It's good for your nervous system. But yeah, going into an artificial, sterile environment, it's unnatural to our nervous systems, to us. And also being sedentary is part of it too. If we're not active, our bodies go crazy. Like they need physical activity, especially if you're eating lots of carbs or high sugar foods. There's a direct link between me eating like carbs, sugars. If I'm not active, I get anxiety. Like it's every single time because my body just had all this energy and it needs to fucking burn it. And if I don't balance it with protein as well, you release cortisol to bring your blood sugar back up once insulin stores it. And so that cortisol release is also linked to increased stress. And I think that can lead to anxiety as well because you got cortisol circling through your body, which increases inflammation because you impair all those carbs and proteins. But I think there's that. And then I also think furniture off gases, formaldehyde and shit because of the tobacco industry. And I don't know when the off gassing stops, how long it takes. But that's the problem with furniture these days is that you run that risk. And so I want to actually check my air quality to see if there's any formaldehyde when I go home because I'm curious.
Yeah, checking air quality, or like if you live somewhere where you like know there is not that for a while, then I guess you could compare like how do you feel overall in like a similar environment that doesn't have like that kind of furniture if it's possible. Try to
Yeah.
like yeah, test if it really is that.
Well, got some experimenting to do. All right, buddy, I gotta get going. I appreciate the chat.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll see you.
Catch you later. Bye bye.